Don't worry, you guys, I did not turn down a major book deal with a major publishing company. It would have been with 2 other authors, and no, they are not big name authors. In fact, I'm pretty sure they have not published anything yet. So, let's just get into this video. So in order to understand this story, first I need to tell you who the Jameses are. So, buckle in. This is going to be a long story. So, I met my best friend Charlotte in 1st grade, and we are still friends. She's my bestie. But in 4th grade, we were in the same class, but we she's definitely more introverted than I am, and other people kind of started to want to hang out with us, and I was more willing to hang out with other people. And then in 5th grade, we were separated. We were in different classes, so I ended up hanging out with this group of people. At the time, I think there were 6 people, and then we went to middle school. So Charlotte went to a different middle school than I did. She went to a private middle school, and I went to the public middle school. So I stuck with this friend group I had kind of joined in 5th grade, and then that group grew even more as we went to middle school, because this was a bunch of elementary schools coming to the same middle school, and we were all kind of just like sticking together, and we were like our elementary school group, and we didn't really separate out of that, but more people started to join, and when we got to 8th grade, there was a total of 14 people in this friend group. And I did not like all of them. And some more information. There were only 2 boys in this friend group. Actually, there's only 1 boy originally. And then we added a second in 6th grade, and then we added 1 more, who I definitely did not like. He is not the type of boy who I'd like to hang out with. He could be a bit snotty, you know? And this particular boy kind of stepped our original boy, who I actually had a podcast with for a while, but we ended that after the schism. But he was kind of encouraging this original boy to act out a little bit more, like, you know, make the inappropriate jokes kind of thing. Ooh, I had a stack of books sticking out of my head that entire time. And then the 3rd boy was with 2 other people in this group. And the 3 of them were kind of like the smart kids of the group. They were all in advanced math in general. They were, I guess you could just say, smarter in like the math and science region, which is definitely what my school focused on, the math and science aspects. But they had they had an attitude about it. They thought they were smarter than everyone, they were know-it-alls, and they would stick it to you. They were just jerks about it. Now, if it had been, okay, we're in different math classes, I'm slightly more advanced than you, and I just know a handful more things, fine, but they were so snooty, and they would go on you if you make a mistake, if you texted wrong, if you texted and your grammar was wrong, they will correct it. And I remember this one instance. I had used a word, and one of these smart people jumped on me, and they were like, "You're misusing that. That is not the correct definition." So me, at the time, this was also around the time when I was going into my depression. This was during quarantine, so we're kind of jumping ahead in the timeline, but we have a Freya sighting. So this was during quarantine, and this guy was convinced that I had misused this word. And so me, being in the phase I was, which was, let's Google everything. Let's learn about serial killers. Let's write this book that centers around a character who knows a lot about murder. I Googled the definition, and I was like, no, I used this word correctly. Here's the official definition of the word from the dictionary, from the Oxford Dictionary. And he goes, that's the dictionary definition, not the official definition. For I can tell I'm getting really angry. But anyway, jumping back, 8th grade, this was pre-pandemic. We were all getting along fine. I stayed away from the people who I didn't really enjoy hanging out with. I really hung out with 2 people. Both of them enjoyed writing, and they wrote a lot. One of them was definitely way more responsible than the other one. The other one prioritized her writing and her cats and her self-pleasure over school, and I promote self-care all the way. If you are in a mental place where you cannot work, email your teacher. Do what's best for you, because mental health is not just for adults, and high schoolers today have as much anxiety as people in asylums in the 1950s, and that is not okay. Moving on from my mental health rant. But then March 2020, COVID hit and quarantine. And so all of us had decided every day we were going to meet on Google Meet after school. And then it kind of came down to only me and these 2 other writers. Let's call them Lillian and Daisy. I don't know. Lillian and Daisy. So Daisy was the less responsible one, just so we're clear. And Lillian had joined the group when we went to middle school. She actually went to the same parish as one of the other friends who we will talk about later, but she is not really a key to the story. But it came down to us, and then we decided, so at this point in time, I was about to publish The Conspiracy, and they were 2 of my editors for it. So with The Conspiracy, we were all kind of like, hey, it would be so much fun if we could write a book together. And for me, it's yeah, that would be awesome, because I already had we were doing this when I was wrapping up The Lead. And The Lead, by the way, I wrote in a month, because I had that much free time. And that little of a social life. So the 3 of us wrote this story together, and then we finished it. We were like, yeah, this is good. And looking back on it, it was a multiple perspective book, and since we were each writing for a different character's point of view, I think it could have worked. So it was a multiple perspectives book, and we finished it, and then we were like, hey, this would actually be really cool to publish. And so we came up with a name for it, and then we started writing a sequel to it. Now, December. On the group chat that had all 14 of us, there was cyberbullying going on. And remember that story about the dictionary definition versus official definition? Yeah, that was just the tip of the iceberg. And I didn't feel supported because, again, I was in my deep depression, and I had made some comments about it, and then eventually, with the 3 who were know-it-alls and the one who was just a jerk, I blew up at them. And I wrote this long text about how I need to take care of myself and to do what I need to do to protect myself. And they blew it off. They didn't even read it. They didn't care. They didn't. So December came and I decided to remove myself from the group chat, so I blocked everyone there. No, sorry, this was in January. I removed myself from the group chat. I blocked almost everyone on the group chat. The meetings I mentioned earlier with Lillian and Daisy, those aren't their real names, by the way. They were still going on, but I didn't go. It felt like an obligation to me. I felt like I always had to be there, and I hated it. I didn't enjoy being around them. And I know some people are going to say, well, obviously you were depressed. You should have, said more, but no. I had directly said stuff multiple times. I had given so many signs, consciously and unconsciously, but they were ignored. Their deadline for finishing editing the lead was at the end of January. So at the end of January, I cut ties, except they were also editing Killers. So there were some business emails going back and forth, but not many. Until this was probably mid-January, actually, now that I think about it. There was an email from Daisy, and she basically said, hey, I'm worried about you. Please come back. Please come back. I don't know what's going on. And then I emailed back that I didn't feel supported. And I didn't feel like I was in a good situation. And I didn't feel like the friendship was a good relationship. And I decided to cut ties. And it was left at that for 2 weeks until Lillian emailed me, and she was like, we feel really bad. We are worried about you. We want you to come back, and I know you feel like the friendship is not a good friendship, and I know what you told Daisy, but just please come back, and we want to help you. And then I said that I respectfully can't, because I don't want to step back into a relationship I had chosen to leave because I was not doing well. And yes, the two had shared the emails that both of us sent. I'm not mad about it. I probably would have done the same thing. This is where Bestie Charlotte comes back in the picture. Love you, Charlotte. Also, that's Charlotte. You can't really see because of the glare, but that's Charlotte when we were much younger. So Charlotte and I, at this point in time, we had been texting once, maybe every couple weeks. We really weren't making that much of an effort to keep the friendship super close, at least in my opinion. Charlotte, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I love you so much. I'll buy your Cinnabon next time. But I reached out and I was like, hey Charlotte, I'm really going through it right now, and just really in a bad situation, and I need your support. Of course she was there because it's Charlotte. And also Charlotte got me that mug. So random. And so she kind of helped me with my responses in the emails. And she was so supportive. She was like, yeah, that was the right thing to do. I actually have all of this written down, in a Google Doc. I was going to turn it into a book, but I kind abandoned it. But I did write an essay about it and turned it in the fall. Anyway, that's not important. Well, it is, but we don't talk about that. Moving on. So probably a month goes by, and Daisy emails me again. Obviously, I was pissed to see her name come up in my inbox because, like, I had cut ties. I was done. No, actually, what happened? Sorry. The deadline for her editing Killers was coming up. No, that's a different email. Sorry. Jumping ahead in the timeline. But she emailed me and she was like, no, this was it. Her, the deadline for them editing Killers was coming up. And she was like, I can't. It was like 2 months away, their deadline. But she was like, I cannot in good mind finish editing this because even though you were paying me, and yes, I was paying them, this was a job, this was a business to me. She said even it was always a favor, and you never paid me for lead, and I don't think you're going to pay me for Killers. And you called my friends toxic, and I hope you have a nice life, basically. And just for the record, I paid them all up front, which is why I never, ever, ever, ever pay up front. 50-50 at best. But don't pay up front because I lost money. Which, I mean, I'm not too pissed about. Also, I paid Charlotte with a tip because she's the bestest. But I basically emailed back, I did pay you, but I respect that you can't in good mind edit, and I wouldn't want you to. And then I said, please never contact me again. And she hasn't since. So in that last email from Daisy, she said, you were cowardly. It was cowardly of you just to up and leave. And as my PSA to everyone, if you are in a toxic relationship, you have every right to leave. You don't need to stay to make it work. In fact, it is brave to run and get the hell out of there. Please do. Because you have every right to. You deserve to be treated better than how you are in a toxic relationship. That is why it is called a toxic relationship. If you have not listened to It's Time to Go by Taylor Swift, you need to do it because that song saw me through so much, because there's this one, like, the chorus goes, sometimes giving up is a strong thing, sometimes to run is a brave thing, sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. And that is 100% true. Yes, there are some situations, and some of you may even say this would be a situation where you should have stayed, and you should stay. There are those situations, but there are also situations where there is no way that it will end well, and the more you try, the worse it gets. And if you need to leave a toxic relationship, leave it. Don't try to make it work. Leave. There is no reason for you to stay in a relationship where you are abused and mistreated and ignored. You have every right to leave. Please get out of a toxic relationship. So, then, many months later, so Lillian emailed me. Oh, also, P.S. Also, so this all happened when I went to a new school. I am now at a all-girls private Catholic school, and I love my besties there. Shout out. They watch all my videos, and they're just the bestest. I love you guys so much. Hi, Freya. So that made the schism a lot easier, especially with, like, quarantine. And yes, I know, keyboard warriors, I said things they definitely wouldn't have said in person, but they still said it, and it still hurt, and it was still damaging to me, and it was still right for me to leave. Anyway, so Lillian emailed me and she was like, hey, so remember that book the three of us wrote? I want to publish it. Do I have permission to use your stuff? I went mad. I was like, hey, Charlotte, guess what happened? And like, I was like, you know what I can do? I can make her life hell. I can make all of these demands surrounding using my work, and I can make her wait until we're 18 so we can legally sign contracts and just be awful about it. But Charlotte was kind of like, you could do that, but I don't think that's the right thing to do for you. And she's 100% right. And it wouldn't have been the right thing to do to Lillian either. So I just straight up said no. You do not have permission to use anything I wrote for that book in any of your published works. And I printed the email, both what she said to me, what I responded, and I have a file of it. So legally I have evidence because emails are legally binding. And the emails are proof that she does not have permission to use anything. So if she does try to use any of my worlds, as she says, any of my writing in her published works, I can sue her. And that was the last contact I had with the Jameses. So Brenda, where did they get the name Jameses? Well, that's thanks to Charlotte again. So there is a Taylor Swift song off of Folklore called Betty, and it says, but if I just showed up at your party, would you have me, would you want me, would you tell me to go F myself or lead me to the garden? And the guy in the song, basically he's cheated on Betty for an entire summer with another girl, and then he's back and he's like, hey! So I know I totally cheated on you for like an entire summer, but will you take me back? So Charlotte gave them the name the Jameses. After James. It's begging for Betty back. That is also where we get the phrase no gardens, because if you're not going to the garden, you get it? Yeah. So if you ever hear me say no gardens, that is not a good thing. Unless I'm explaining it to someone else, because it's kind of my new favorite phrase. But yeah, that is the story of the Jameses and how I said no to a book deal, a book collaboration, whatever you want to call it. Dang, this video's long. It's really not as exciting of a story as I expected it to be. I think we got almost crying with Brenda. But that's the story. If I have any more James updates, I will let you know. Actually, I'll let Charlotte know, and then she'll be like, hey girl, you should like encourage people to leave toxic relationships. I'll be like, yeah. So I'm gonna end this video here, and I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye.